Hello, it's me, Miss Stephanie, here at Hogg Middle School. I am currently at bed number 2 for this video because today we're going over how to harvest sweet potatoes. Now, before we even get started, I want you to assess your surroundings because we want to make sure that we're looking for any fire ant piles because unfortunately they do sometimes like to make a home in our raised beds here. But I do want you to keep in mind that even though we're assessing our surroundings, you are probably going to see some insects, maybe some lizards or toads. And our number one rule in the garden is to treat everything in the garden with respect. So we want to make sure that even though we might be seeing some other critters, we want to be giving them a little bit of space and leaving them alone because even though we're harvesting today, we want to be treating them with respect. Secondly, we want to go over tool safety real quick before we get started. We're going to be using little tools today, a trowel or a spade like this. And of course, we won't be working too closely with our friends, unfortunately, but I still want you to be aware and make sure that you're using the rule of thumb. So the rule of thumb, if you recall from the rules video, is you put your thumb in your belly button and you try and keep your tool below your belly button while you are working. So the first thing now that we've gone over our little safety tutorial. Those dogs are barking in the background. But the first thing we want to do when we harvest is we want to kind of clear off some of these vines. They are pretty long, but you want to give them a pull and take them out of the garden. We will be putting these in the compost pile, of course, so that they can decompose and go back to our garden eventually. Miss Goodman will show you guys where that is. But I'm going to clear off our vines, give them a little pull. And just in doing that, I've actually exposed a beautiful, perfect looking sweet potato right here. So just by pulling those vines off, I was able to find a beautiful sweet potato like this. Now, I'm gonna actually get my tool and I'm gonna dig around in our little mound right here in our soil, but I wanna be really careful. I'm gonna be really gentle loosening the soil because our trowels and spades actually are really sharp, and if you put enough force on them, they will actually cut through a sweet potato, and it's gonna increase the chances of that sweet potato rotting, and then we don't get to use it, which is unfortunate. So I'm very gently poking at the soil, loosening it up, and I have brought up a little skinny guy right here. So just in that little bit, I have found 2 sweet potatoes. Now, I'm not going to dig around anymore because I want to make sure that there's plenty for you guys to find out here. But what do we do with these sweet potatoes once they are out of the ground? We want to be really gentle with them. We don't want to scrub them. We don't want to scratch them. They're a little dirty. But we just want to give them a nice little dust off, try and get as much soil off of them as possible. And if you have enough time, give them a little quick rinse off. But the reason I say, I'm pausing for the dogs again, so sorry if there's a break in the video. When you wash off the sweet potatoes, you want to make sure that they have enough time to dry off completely. Maybe in a nice sunny spot over on the picnic tables or over on these tables in front of the oak tree. But we want them completely dry because sweet potatoes ideally would be able to stay in a cool, dry place for months after they are harvested, which means that we would be able to use them for Thanksgiving, winter break, all the way into January or February if we're taking really good care of them. If we put them away with them being damp, maybe we've scratched them up really badly, they're more likely to get moldy and mildewy, which means that they are going to be rotten. And nobody wants to come back to find a big pile of rotten sweet potatoes. Now, I'm going to poke around in the soil a little bit more to try and find something to show you, but I will be right back. I said that I wanted to find something to show you, and that's why I was digging around some more. It wasn't any sweet potatoes, but friends, I do want you to be aware that one thing that you are probably going to find in our garden while you are digging for some sweet potatoes is a white grub like this guy right here. Now, I said we want to be respectful of the things that live in our garden, but these guys aren't too nice to our plants. They, in fact, really like to nibble on our plant roots, and they can do a lot of damage because they have these really strong, I'm going to try and show you. They have these really strong mandibles that chew through our roots. And when we find these in our garden while we are digging, I want you to get rid of them. Throw them over underneath the trees, get them out of our garden. So that's one thing that you're gonna see in our garden while you're probably working. And another is all of these skinny red roots. These are sweet potato roots as well, but we wanna make sure that we are taking them out because there is a saying in the gardening community that once you plant sweet potatoes, you're always gonna have sweet potatoes, because when there's a little bit of root left in our soil in our garden, the sweet potatoes are gonna start growing again, which means more vines and leaves. And while that's great during the summer, we don't really want that in our garden during the winter and spring. So make sure you're pulling these out of the garden as well as our white grubs that I showed you, and you'll be ready to start planting cold weather plants as well with Miss Goodman going forward. All right, guys, that's it for me today in the garden. Bye.